Libra, this is your week ahead astrology forecast by Astrology Motivation from Born Without Boundaries. In this weekly video, I review the major planetary aspects and transits and how they aspect your natal sun, so what that means for your bottom line. All you need to know to enjoy this video is your birth date. That's it. Everything else I'm going to translate for you. I'm going to start out really broad with the big stuff, like the charts for the week. And then I'm going to dig down into Libra specific energies. And then I will break everything down into the 3 decans of Libra. A decan is simply a group of 10 degrees. And by doing that, it helps me understand the exact aspect that is impacting your natal suns. And once again, if you don't know exactly where your natal sun is located in Libra, that's okay, because I'll give you the estimate when it comes to birthdays. So you don't have to worry. Let's just jump right in. This is for the week of August 29th through September 4th. That's right, dude. I know. It's September. Like, no, I really can't really wrap my head around it, to be totally honest with you. But it's here. So we had a lot of big stuff actually happening this week. There's been some stagnation, but no, not this week. Today, August 29th, Uranus goes retrograde. That's very big because it doesn't come out of retrograde. It's a larger planet, so it doesn't come out of retrograde till January something or other, I think mid-January. And what that asks us to do, Uranus is all about rebellion and change and fighting against the powers that be. But when it's in retrograde, it kind of says, okay, how do we have to change ourselves? What do we have to change inside? What do we have to redistribute and reorganize and really rebel against in terms of the things that we've settled for? Also, Uranus goes in retrograde in Taurus. So our internal traditions, our internal systems that we've fallen back on and gotten really cozy in, like, how do we need to shake it up a bit and start thinking outside the box when it comes to everything that is us? Good questions. Then on the 30th, we have the full moon. That's a lot. The full moon is a full moon in Pisces, but it's also conjunct to Saturn. And moons conjunct Saturn, it's not an easy energy. It's very tense. Could be a lot of family issues that come up. The struggle between maturity and youth, this sense of collision and collide, a feeling of our restricted emotions or feeling like our personality itself is restricted, since of course this happens in opposition to the sun. Saturn opposite the sun is already a difficult energy, but that moon is going to magnify and volumize and make it more personal. It'll make you take things a heck of a lot more personal. And so that's when we pop, and that's when we let it explode. And I think we need that tension released. And that's what the Pisces full moon will give us. It's a super moon. So this is going to be extremely intense. The moon's pull on us is going to be very strong. And so emotions are definitely running high around that moon. But then it ushers in Saturn's release of the sun. The sun isn't going to be an once the sun moves on, the next day, the sun is really out of a tight opposition with Saturn, and the day after, Mars gets out of a tight opposition with Neptune. So there's sort of a liberation that comes this week when those tense aspects that are really making us feel very heavy and very restricted allow us to finally release and move forward again, even though everything is in retrograde. Jupiter goes into retrograde on the 3rd. And then the next, what is Jupiter in retrograde? Once again, there is that sense of curiosity. There is that sense of have we connected with our own curiosity? Have we allowed ourselves to connect with others that are different than ourselves? There is this understanding of, maybe we have, if we've settled too much in our ways, to kind of slack back. Why does that matter? Because a lot of times when we're pushing forward in the same old bad habits. So these retrogrades allow us to say, stop, actually look at the choices that you're making. Are they the right ones? Just because they're the common ones or just because they're the ones you've always made doesn't mean they're working for you. And if you allow yourself to step back and become more objective and take it all in during retrograde season, it is really fortuitous. It is really something that can be very progressive. Mars has moved in on the 29th today, or no, yesterday. Mars moved into Libra, which definitely impacts you guys directly, and we will definitely talk about that. Every planet by September 3rd is in retrograde or shadow. Actually in retrograde, except for Mars. And then Mars moves into the zodiac sign of Libra, which is its detriment sign. It's its opposite side. Mars in Libra is very driven to equalize everything. It's not about progress or pushing ahead. It's about making sure that everything is fair. Sometimes even fighting for fairness. A warrior for equality or equalization, or taking the actions that need to be taken to let both sides get win. And I'm not sure it's, compromise. So ultimately it's not this forward motion that we're used to from Mars, but it's the only planet that isn't in retrograde. Now, on the 4th, attention all Libras, on September 4th, Venus comes out of retrograde. That's right. Uranus goes into retrograde. A couple days later, Jupiter goes into retrograde. And then on the 4th, so Jupiter goes into retrograde on the 3rd. Venus pops out of retrograde on the 4th. Now, what does this mean? You're not going to feel her pick up right away. She's really not going to return to full speed probably till October. But ultimately, she is out of retrograde as of September 4th. She's the first one that pops out. I actually think Pluto is next. Is either Pluto or Saturn that are all going to come out over the fall. And so Venus is going to be the first one to pop out. This is a nice release. And then she starts moving forward in Leo. And that's very optimistic, progressive, romantic, and fortuitous energy again. We can start feeling some speed pick up a little bit. So that's good stuff. We do still have her, however, square to Jupiter. And Jupiter is now in retrograde. So what does that mean? Venus square Jupiter, it can be indulgence and the trap that it sets for itself when it becomes overly indulgent. In retrograde, I think there could be some more introspective understanding of just how bad it's gotten or what it's actually doing to us. So anywhere where we've been excessive is really going to go under or into inquiry right now. Let's go into, hold on a second. I just want to, interestingly enough, you know what I saw? Because the nodes don't always do this. They do this every once in a while. But for just a couple of days, the nodes will go direct. The nodes are always in retrograde. For a couple of days, the nodes go direct. And the south node is in Libra. It's going to move between 26 to 25 degrees, but it goes direct on the 4th. So there is this energy of the sort of juxtaposition that happens now when everything else is in retrograde or most other things are retrograde. Venus comes out of retrograde and so do those nodes. So there is this energy of maybe like kicking it up a notch in terms of what we've gotten comfortable with, but how we need to let that inspire us to push forward, take more personal responsibility, or become more aware suddenly of the directions that we need to move in. I want to see if there's anything that I've forgotten. Mercury is trine to Jupiter, and through the 1st of September, Mercury is trine to Uranus. Mercury, of course, is in retrograde. This is still very brilliant inquiry and brilliant energy when it's trine to Uranus. It's also very optimistic energy, progressive energy, and sort of multicultural energy. It's very much wants to communicate and talk and reach outside of its own borders or its own normality, have very philosophical conversations when it's trine to Jupiter. So I think absolutely fantastic time as of September 3rd. When Jupiter goes retrograde, as of September 3rd, Mercury will conjunct the Sun, and Mercury conjunct the Sun will then be trine at Jupiter. That's a very optimistic energy, very courageous energy, an energy that is very conscious of its connection and its purpose or divine purpose. You know, God assigned purpose. It's like almost the realization of it. This is actually really lovely energy. The full moon, one thing I do want to discuss is that because it is conjunct Saturn, it is also semi-square to Chiron. So that does deal with facing down and releasing those emotions of not feeling good enough, like I'll never be good enough. What haven't I achieved? What haven't I done well enough? Or do I just feel like that? Am I being hard on myself? Or is it true? You know, have I not lived up to specific standards, and do I have to step it up a notch? So all of those frustrations and truths will be realized around that full moon in Pisces. Let's go into Libra, shall we? So Libra specific energy, what is going on? So in Libra, there is the South Node. And like I said, the South Node moves between 26 and 25 degrees. That means it's hanging out in the third decan of Libra still. And that'll be true for the next couple of months, where the South Node will be with you guys in the third decan. And then we have Mars. Mars enters Libra on the 29th. And so between now, the 29th, the 28th, and so between the 29th and September 4th, this week, Mars is going to move between 0 and 2 degrees. That means that Libra 3s, you have the South Node conjunct to your natal suns, and Libra 1s, you have Mars conjunct your natal sun. And once Mars finally breaks free of that opposition to Neptune, like I said, definitely by the end of the week, that will happen. You will feel bigger energy, much more certain of yourself, much more stable. What is happening with your ruling dignitary, Libra? Well, we know Venus is stationed direct on the 4th, which is really good, optimistic. We'll start to feel things picking up and maybe normalizing as of the 4th. She is square to Jupiter all week long. She is square to the moon on the 4th, which is interesting. Venus square, because what this means is that the moon becomes conjunct to Jupiter, which is very lovely energy, optimistic, kind of dreamy and romantic, but she's square to this happening on the 4th. And what does that mean? Sort of, how have we been fooling ourselves? And any ways that we have been self-deceiving or that we have been deceived will start to create real challenges for us. And so even if we can't see it yet, we will definitely be feeling it. All week long, she is says equiquadrate. If I say that right, I know I got to learn how to say it right. To Neptune, which means distractibility, tension, and challenge when it comes to really deciphering dreams from reality, or getting distracted with being very creative, but in some ways being so creative we're not really fully tethered to reality anymore, which can get really distracting. That's something that is going to be for a while. And then we have a trine to Chiron, which means healing. A sense of getting our sense of self-worth back, finding or reevaluating our value systems and balancing them out and finding tranquility after the trauma or because of it, because of what we've learned, sort of making peace with and finding beauty in what we've been through and our scars. So ultimately, Venus has really done a soul searching here. And there is a lot of more self-actualization energy around her, especially when it comes to different indulgences, different ways that we overdo it, different ways that I was gonna say find what really matters to us, but then in a way it's almost a challenge of what is really valuable. You know, what is really valuable, and what have we learned from our past mistakes and all the things that we valued that made us suffer or caused us pain? How do we put that and apply it to ways that in some ways we could still be hurting ourselves by overindulging or being too shallow or allowing too much and not having high enough standards? All of those questions are really good ones at this time as Venus goes direct. So let's break things down, Libra, into the 3 decans. If you know that your natal sun is between 0 and 9 degrees Libra, your natal sun is in the first decan of Libra. So you are Libra 1s. This correlates to Libra birthdays essentially in September. So we've got like September 22nd through maybe October 1st. That's in and around. They will fluctuate around the beginning or the end, but in and around that area is when Libra 1 birthdays would be. It's your natal suns if you're at the cusp. So if you're at the Virgo cusp, which is sort of the 21st, 22nd, and 23rd, your natal suns are in opposition to Neptune. So you've been dealing with that for a while. So the fact that Mars is now conjunct your natal sun intensifies this and makes you more likely to jump at shadows and act upon illusions. And that is not good energy. So it's not a great time, maybe until the end of this week. Wait till this week clears if you're at the cusp, to take any real important action, or get really, decide your direction, or just like this is not the best time to fly forward or take aggressive action, because it may be toward distractions or toward things that, like acting upon things that aren't as important as you thought they were. So it's best to let that energy clear. Your natal suns are quincunx to the full moon. Now, they've been quincunx to Saturn, which means sort of like a spur in the side when it comes to like something agitating you, when it comes to what is restricting you or what isn't good enough, maybe never feeling good enough. This full moon is aspected the same way. So it's going to be emotion. It's going to make it very personal, very emotional. Could be something about your family that's going on that is really like nagging you and getting at you and frustrating you. And this full moon will allow those situations to really be brought to a head and pop. So there's a lot of emotions around this full moon for you guys. You're in a cusps, you're in a long-term trine to Pluto. So ultimately, over the next couple of years, this is about expanding and broadening your psychic abilities, your connection to darker things, harmonizing with those things that other people think are off or taboo, becoming comfortable with those sides of yourself that intimidate people, but accepting it and really embracing your power and your strength to change things. Libra 2s, if you know that your natal sun is between 10 and 19 degrees Libra, you guys are Libra 2s. This correlates to birthdays between, say, October 2nd and the 11th, in and around there. Your natal suns are sextile to Venus, so you should feel a big relief as well as an increased amount of energy when Venus finally posts stationary and starts going direct over the next week and a half. So sextile to Venus means you're very pretty, you're very beautiful, people are noticing you, they're paying attention. It's a great time to charm the crap out of people because your charm and charisma is high. It's a great time to beautify yourself, pay attention to self-care, all of those wonderful things. Definitely a good time to date. Your natal suns are quincunx to Jupiter, which means you could get ahead of yourself. You could want to move too fast. You could want to rush yourself because you're kind of urged to expand. But are you ready to expand? That's the only caveat, though it is optimism, absolutely. The opposition to Chiron has been there for quite some time, and it's strongest now with those of you born around 19 degrees Libra, because Chiron is at 19 degrees Aries. So anybody basically born between, say, the 9th and the 12th of October, this opposition to Chiron will be very strong for you. And what that is a constant agitation of trauma, a constant trial of your ego of, am I good enough? So you could be dealing a lot for the next year with battling your insecurities, facing your insecurities, and finding a way to believe in yourself even when you are insecure. And a lot of times that has to do with digging into faith. As in, if I can't believe in myself, I'm going to believe in the people who believe in me. Because if they think I can do it and I love them and I believe them, well, then I'm just going to follow their faith. That's a really good way of circumnavigating a lot of self-esteem issues until you can get a place where you've proven it to yourself. All right, and for this full moon, you are a sesqui quadrate to the full moon. I call it sesqui to the full moon. That means your natal suns are within like 135 degrees of that full moon. That's a tension. It's an irritation of sorts, an irritation especially when it comes to family issues, also feeling like the rules just won't get out of your way, and how perfect do you have to be? Or maybe in some ways not even realizing that you're not as far ahead as you think you are, and you have to attain higher standards. That can be agitating too, because it is challenging your ego. Whatever it is, it will be volumized, personalized, and very emotional around this full moon for you. So let that energy pop and allow yourself to be grounded in breath and in self-care. Libra 3s. If your natal suns are between 20 and 29 degrees Libra, you are Libra 3s. This correlates to birthdays between, say, October 12th and the 22nd. So right up to the Scorpio cusp. Your natal suns are the ones conjunct the South Node, which means more opportunity to really get right with yourself and feel comfortable about where you came from. Though there is a caveat that you can get a little too cozy, leaning in on especially your partnerships for your self-esteem, which is not good. You need to allow that North Node to challenge you and consciously make the effort to work more on your own independence. That is for the next couple of months. You have a square to Pluto, which just means a very formidable energy when it comes to you, and you could irritate the crap out of people without even trying. They may not trust you, and if you found or feel a little resistance over the next year and for the past year or so, there's just this energy of people not really trusting you because they think you're there to take over. They know that you're looking through them when you look at them. And honestly, it's not your problem, but it does get in your way. The trick to this energy is always relentless. Be relentless, but don't be ruthless. You know what I'm saying? It's like, keep pushing forward no matter what, but don't make sure to step on people, and be sure to remember your morality, because you could drum up some bad dharma for yourself if you don't. Just an FYI. Your natal suns have got a long-term quincunx to Neptune and quincunx to Uranus. This is really distractibility and frustrating energy of rebellion and change, but not knowing or having a clear way as to how to make that happen. And that is going to challenge your very last nerve, and it is going to challenge your focus. And so focus could be an issue for you right now, but also into the next couple of years. However, this is very clever energy, and it's happening to you to make you be more ingenuitive, because it is extremely ingenuitive energy. You let me know in the comments below, guys, just how this energy is impacting you. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel, and then come on over to Born Without Boundaries Tarot for your week ahead tarot card message. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the videos. Bye, Libra.